Let me start by telling you something that might shake you a little. Every day, from the moment you open your eyes, there is a battle going on inside you, a fight nobody sees, a fight nobody talks about, a fight between the person you are right now and the person you're supposed to become. And I need you to hear this clearly. One of those versions is trying to build you, and the other one is quietly destroying your future. You know that weak version of you, the one that hits snooze 5 times, the one that says, I'll start tomorrow, the one that keeps replaying your fears, the one that holds on to excuses like they're oxygen, the one that settles, shrinks, avoids, hesitates, doubts. That version of you has been running your life for too long. And if you don't kill it, it will kill your dreams. It will kill your confidence. It will kill your progress. It will kill every opportunity God places in front of you. Listen, you didn't come this far to stay the same. You didn't survive everything you've survived just to bow down to the weakest part of yourself. You didn't go through pain, heartbreak, stress, disappointment, and sacrifice just to let the softest version of you make your decisions. There's a stronger version of you waiting, a focused you, a disciplined you, a courageous you, a powerful you. But that version can't come alive until the weak one dies. Why should you keep listening to this message? Because what you're about to hear is not just motivation. It's a wake-up call. It's the message you've been avoiding every single morning when you open your eyes, before you look at your phone, before you check a message, before you take a step out of that bed. There is already a battle happening inside of you. And the truth is, most people don't even realize they're in a fight until they've already lost the first round. That weak version of you wakes up early. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need an invitation. It doesn't ask if it can speak. It shows up, sits on the edge of your bed, and starts whispering the same lines that have been holding you back for years. You're tired. You're not ready. You don't have what it takes. You messed up last time. You're not like them. Maybe tomorrow. That weak voice knows exactly what to say to keep you small. It knows your fears better than anyone. It knows your insecurities. It knows what buttons to press to make you settle for less. And the dangerous part is this. That voice sounds like you. It feels familiar. It feels safe. It feels comfortable. And that is why so many people let that weak version drive their entire life without even questioning it. But deep inside, there is another version of you, a stronger version, a version that doesn't fold under pressure, a version that doesn't run from responsibility, a version that doesn't waste time on fear, excuses, laziness, or doubt, a version that knows you're capable of more, a version that's been waiting for years to finally take over your life. But here's the part most people don't want to accept. The strong version of you cannot come alive until the weak version dies. You can't keep feeding both and expect to win. You can't say you want discipline and still give energy to every distraction. You can't say you want growth and still run back to the same habits that are bearing your potential. You can't say you want a better life and still live like the lesser version of yourself is your boss. The weak version of you survives because you've been protecting it. You've been giving it excuses. You've been letting it speak first. You've been letting it make decisions for you. Every time you say, I'll do it later, you give it power. Every time you shrink yourself to make other people comfortable, you give it power. Every time you ignore your goals, skip your responsibilities, choose comfort over progress, you give it power. And every time you feed that version, you make it stronger. But here is the truth you need to confront. Your dreams are not dying because the world is unfair. They're dying because the weak version of you is running the show. Your progress isn't slow because you're unlucky. It's slow because the weak version of you keeps making the same decisions every day. Your confidence isn't low because something is wrong with you. It's low because you keep proving to yourself that the weaker voice is the one you obey. You were not born to live at the mercy of your weaker self. You were born with potential, with strength, with a calling, with a purpose. But potential means nothing if the version of you that sabotages everything is still in control. And the reason this message is the most important thing you'll hear today is because your entire life can change the moment you decide to stop negotiating with that weak version and start eliminating it. not reducing it, not calming it down, eliminating it. That weak version has stolen enough from you. It has stolen your energy. It has stolen your time. It has stolen your ambition. It has stolen opportunities that could have transformed your life. It has stolen blessings you didn't even know were meant for you. It has stolen moments that could have built you. And the longer you allow it to live, the more it takes you know deep down you're capable of more than what you're living right now. You know you've settled for less than what you deserve. You know you've allowed fear to hold you in places you should have outgrown years ago. You've carried excuses like they were part of your identity. You've allowed people around you to influence your mindset when they don't even know their own direction. You've accepted disappointment as normal. You've convinced yourself that maybe one day is a plan. But you and I both know that weak version of you has had enough time. It has had enough control. It has caused enough delay. And now the part of you that wants to grow is tired of waiting. You can feel it, can't you? That little voice inside you that says you're meant for more. The voice that keeps showing up no matter how much you try to ignore it. The voice that says you have talent, potential, value, and purpose that you haven't even begun to unlock. That voice isn't lying to you. That is the real you. The stronger you, the focused you, the disciplined you, the courageous you. But that version can't step forward until you stop feeding the one that keeps dragging you backward. And that is why you need to keep listening to this message. Because for the first time in a long time, someone is telling you the truth without softening it. Your life is where it is because the weaker version of you has been in charge. But this also means something powerful. If you kill that version today, your entire life can shift. Your mindset can shift. Your habits can shift. Your confidence can shift. Your results can shift. And everything you've been waiting for can finally start to move toward you. But nothing changes until you make that internal decision. Nothing elevates until you make that internal cut. Nothing grows until something stops holding you down. And you know exactly what that something is. You felt it, you fought it, you've carried it, and now it's time to face it, confront it, and remove it from the driver's seat of your life. Discipline is the one thing most people want, but almost nobody is willing to build. Everybody wants results, but very few want routines. Everybody wants success, but very few want structure. Everybody wants growth, but very few want consistency. And this is exactly where the weak version of you survives. Because the weak version hates discipline more than anything. The weak version of you is addicted to comfort. It loves ease. It loves shortcuts. It loves excuses. It loves the idea of growth without the work. It wants change, but not responsibility. It wants progress, but not commitment. It wants elevation without effort. And the only way to bury that weak version is through discipline, because discipline is the shovel that digs its grave. The moment you start choosing discipline, you start starving the weaker version of yourself, because discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired, stressed, unmotivated, or overwhelmed. Discipline doesn't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect day. It operates on commitment, not convenience. It shows up even when you don't want to. It pushes you when your feelings try to negotiate. It demands that you honor your word, not your mood. And that is exactly why the weaker version of you hates it. Because discipline exposes everything that weak version tries to hide. Most people don't lack talent. They don't lack potential. They don't lack intelligence or ability. What they lack is discipline. And without discipline, nothing in your life is sustainable. Motivation will get you excited. Inspiration will get you started. But only discipline will keep you going when the excitement dies, when inspiration fades, when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when nobody is supporting, when nobody even believes in you. Discipline is the backbone of every transformation. You can pray, you can hope, you can visualize, you can dream. But if you don't back it with discipline, the weak version of you will always win. Think about how many times you told yourself you would change. How many times you promised you'd start tomorrow. How many times you said you'd be consistent this time for real. How many times you set a goal and abandoned it. How many times you felt motivated for a few days, then fell right back into the same habits, the same distractions, the same patterns that have been holding you back for years? That wasn't because you didn't want change. It was because the weak version of you had more discipline than the strong version. The weak version was more consistent than the strong version. It showed up every day. It whispered in your mind every morning. It pulled you back every night. It practiced excuses with discipline. It practiced procrastination with discipline. It practiced comfort with discipline. And you didn't even realize the weakest part of you was more committed to its habits than you were to your growth. Discipline is the only way to flip that power. When you start choosing discipline, you start turning the strong version of you into the dominant force. You begin to retrain your mind. You begin to rewire your habits. You begin to build a new identity. Because discipline isn't just something you do, it's something you become. It becomes a part of how you walk, how you speak, how you think, how you move. And once discipline becomes a part of your identity, the weak version of you can't survive anymore. It doesn't have space. It doesn't have oxygen. It doesn't have influence. And discipline doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It's built quietly in your daily decisions. When you wake up on time instead of hitting snooze, that's discipline. When you choose responsibility instead of excuses, that's discipline. When you stay committed to something long after the motivation has died, that's discipline. When you do the work even when nobody sees it or applauds it, that's discipline. When you choose long-term growth over short-term pleasure, that's discipline. When you keep a promise to yourself, even a small promise, your identity shifts. You start proving to yourself that you're capable of more. You start building confidence not from words, but from action. Most people talk themselves out of greatness because they think discipline requires perfection. But discipline only requires consistency. Even if you do it imperfectly, even if you do it slowly, even if you do it tired, consistency is what kills the weak version of you. Every disciplined act is like turning down the volume on the weaker voice inside you. Before you know it, the voice that once controlled you becomes small, distant, powerless. And for the first time in your life, you feel like you're driving instead of being driven. When discipline becomes your foundation, something powerful happens. You stop depending on feelings to move forward. Feelings become background noise. Laziness becomes a minor inconvenience instead of a roadblock. Fear becomes a challenge instead of a prison. Procrastination becomes uncomfortable instead of natural. You stop seeking motivation and start creating momentum. You stop waiting for the right time and start making the time. You stop wishing and start doing. And all of this begins with discipline. Discipline is the quiet power that builds loud results. It is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. It doesn't matter who doubted you. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. Discipline is the equalizer. It's the one thing every person has access to. And the moment you decide to build it, your entire direction shifts. You stop being controlled by your impulses. You stop being a prisoner to your habits. You stop being trapped in your old identity. You begin to evolve. You begin to rise. You begin to step into the strongest version of yourself. Because here is the truth. Your life does not change when you want it to change. It changes when you discipline yourself to act differently, when you choose structure over chaos, when you choose commitment over comfort, when you choose progress over excuses, when you choose action over intention. And every time you do that, every time you show up for yourself, you are digging the grave of the weak version of you and giving life to the version that was always meant to lead. Your environment is either building you or breaking you, and most people never realize how much of their weakness comes from the circle they keep, the habits they repeat, and the standards they allow. The weak version of you doesn't just live inside your mind. It lives in your surroundings. It lives in the people who drain your energy. It lives in the routines that keep you busy but not better. It lives in the standards you've quietly lowered just to feel comfortable. And if you don't start paying attention to these things, the weak version of you will always have a home to return to. It will always have a doorway, a window, a hidden path that pulls you back to the same level you're trying to escape from. Your circle matters more than you think. You can't grow while surrounding yourself with people who settle. You can't stay disciplined while being around people who don't hold themselves accountable. You can't elevate your mind while being around people who talk small, think small, and dream small. Weakness spreads. It's contagious. And if you hang around people who feed the weaker version of you, they will pull you back into the life you're trying to leave behind. Sometimes it's not your potential that's the problem. It's your environment. It's hard to fly when you're sitting in rooms where nobody else plans on leaving the ground. You need people who challenge you. People who make you uncomfortable in a good way. People who show you what discipline looks like. People who remind you of the standards you set for yourself. You need voices around you that tell you the truth, not voices that comfort your excuses. You need a circle that pulls the strong version of you to the front, not one that claps for your laziness or encourages your stagnation. Because when your circle is weak, you become weak. When your circle is average, you become average. When your circle doesn't grow, you stop growing too. But the moment you start surrounding yourself with people who demand more from life, who chase goals, who stay consistent, who choose hard work over comfort, that weak version of you stops feeling at home. Your habits are shaping you even when you're not paying attention. Every decision you repeat becomes part of your identity. People think habits are just small actions, but habits are actually the fingerprints of your future. Your habits tell you exactly who you're becoming. And if your habits are sloppy, inconsistent, destructive, or lazy, then the weaker version of you is in charge. Most people don't have a weak mindset. They have weak habits that create a weak mindset. You can't think strong while living soft. You can't build confidence while breaking promises to yourself. You can't expect discipline while practicing inconsistency. Your life today is the reflection of the habits you repeated yesterday. If you want to bury the weak version of you, you must build habits that feed the strong version. Habits that require effort. Habits that require intention. Habits that require growth. Habits that stretch you. Habits that remind you every day that you are becoming someone better. You don't need big dramatic habits. You need consistent ones. Waking up early, showing up on time, holding yourself accountable, doing what you said you would do, eliminating distractions, committing to routines. Small habits kill the weak you because the weak version hates consistency. It hates routine. It hates anything that threatens its comfort. But the moment your habits become stronger than your excuses, the stronger version of you begins to dominate your life. And then there are your standards, the quiet and often invisible boundaries that decide how you live, how you think, and how you react. Most people don't even realize they've lowered their standards until they look at their life and ask themselves, how did I get here? The weak version of you thrives when your standards drop. It thrives when you accept disrespect, tolerate poor effort, allow laziness, ignore red flags, entertain negativity, or accept less than what you deserve. Every time you lower your standards, even just a little, the weak version of you gains more power. But every time you raise your standards, even just a little, the strong version of you takes another step forward. When your standards are high, the weak version of you suffocates. It can't survive in an environment where excuses aren't allowed, where effort is required, where discipline is expected, where excellence is normal. Raising your standards means refusing to settle, refusing to stay stuck, refusing to let your past define you, refusing to let your emotions control you, refusing to let fear dictate your choices, refusing to let people pull you down to their level. When you raise your standards, your whole reality begins to shift because now your life has rules. Now your future has boundaries. Now your decisions have direction. And once your standards rise, everything and everyone that aligns with the weak version of you starts falling away naturally. And here's what most people overlook. The weak version of you isn't strong. It's familiar. You keep returning to it because it feels safe, predictable, comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of growth. Comfort is the playground of the weaker you. As long as comfort is a priority, The weak version will always win. That's why your circle, your habits, and your standards matter so much. They force you out of comfort. They push you into growth. They pull you toward a version of yourself that has been waiting to take over. And without these things, you will always fall back into the same patterns, no matter how motivated you feel in the moment. When you change your circle, you change your conversations. When you change your conversations, you change your mindset. When you change your mindset, you change your habits. When you change your habits, you change your identity. And when you change your identity, you kill the weak version of yourself without even having to fight it. Because the strong version of you becomes the only version that fits the life you're building. This is why you need to protect your environment like your future depends on it, because it does. You need to choose people who elevate your energy, not drain it. Choose habits that strengthen you, not weaken you. Choose standards that lift you, not reduce you. You deserve a life where the strongest version of you is the one leading, deciding, acting, and growing. But that life cannot exist in an environment built for the weaker you. You must create a world around you that feeds your strength instead of your weakness. And when you do, the weak version of you will have nowhere left to hide. So after everything we've talked about, after every truth you've had to face, every weakness you've had to confront, every limitation you finally saw for what it really was, here is what it all comes down to. There are two versions of you living inside you right now. One is weak, familiar, comfortable, predictable, loud, and lazy. The other is strong, disciplined, hungry, focused, resilient, and capable of becoming everything you've ever imagined. And only one of them gets to define the rest of your life. Only one of them gets to make the decisions. Only one of them gets to walk with you into your future. But they cannot both survive. One of them has to die so the other one can live. You have spent enough of your life being controlled by the weaker version of yourself. You've spent enough time talking about what you want instead of chasing it. You've spent enough time apologizing for who you are, shrinking yourself, hiding your gifts, settling for less, avoiding your potential, and delaying the life you know you're capable of living. And the truth is, you didn't go through everything you went through just to end up living at the level of the weakest part of you. You didn't survive storms just to walk like someone with no strength. You didn't climb out of your darkest moments just to hand the steering wheel back to the version of you that keeps driving you in circles. You deserve more. You know you deserve more. And it's time you start living like it. This is the moment where you decide what kind of life you want to live from this day forward. Not next year, not next month, not tomorrow, today, right now. This is the moment where you stop negotiating with your excuses. This is the moment where you stop giving energy to fear. This is the moment where you stop saying one day and start saying right now. This is the moment where you look at that weak version of you, the one that's been slowing you down, distracting you, breaking your confidence, stealing your joy, and holding your potential hostage, and you tell it that its time is up. Its voice is no longer your decision maker. Its habits are no longer your lifestyle. Its comfort is no longer your home, because the strongest version of you is ready. It's been waiting behind every moment of doubt. It's been knocking behind every fear. It's been whispering behind every failure. It's been calling you every time you felt like giving up. And now it's standing right in front of you, asking one final question. Are you willing to kill the weaker version of yourself so I can finally live? Your future is watching you. Your purpose is watching you. Your blessings, your opportunities, your breakthroughs, they're all standing right there on the other side of the decision you're about to make. They are waiting for the strongest version of you to show up. The world is not moved by your potential. It is moved by your transformation. And transformation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you finally get tired of being tired, when you get tired of your own excuses, when you get tired of circling the same mountains, when you decide that the person you want to become matters more than the person you've been holding on to. So let this be the moment where everything shifts. Let this be the moment you choose strength over fear, discipline over excuses, growth over comfort, and purpose over weakness. Let this be the moment you rise. Let this be the moment you take back control. Let this be the moment you let the weak version of you die so the strongest version of you can finally breathe. And when you walk out of here today, walk out like someone who has made a decision. Walk out like someone who is stepping into their new identity. Walk out like someone who left the weaker version of themselves behind for good. Because the truth is simple. The life you want, the person you want to become, the future you dream about, they're all waiting for one thing. For you to show up as the strongest version of yourself and never go back